Hey everybody, it's me Laura, and today we're going to be talking about the Monaco and Speedball cases and the homemade blade case. And you guys are probably like, okay, why? I have been doing some traveling lately, and I have been finding that I need to organize my tools so badly, especially if you're flying, because they really take into account weight, especially if you check a bag. And I can't take my normal tackle box, which is all metal. That thing weighs a ton. Plus I have clay and other things. So to really help this out, I started with the Monaco travel case here, and this thing is wonderful. And the reason why is when you take this thing out of the case, it comes in purple, red, and black. Purple, red, and black. And it's 11 1/4 inches long, and it's about, 5 1/2 to 5 3/4 wide there, yeah. And I love this thing. And the reason for that is because I have long tools. So looking on the inside of this here, it has a few slots. So you could put all sorts of different wonderful little polymer clay tools in here. It has a handle and it zips up. I think that's the best part of this. It zips up, it keeps all the tools contained, and they're not going to be flopping around everywhere. So I love the pouch too. So right here, this is the original purpose, is for long-handled like paintbrushes, right? So these things are they're pretty long. And trying to find any kind of decent case for paintbrushes is hard to do. So it's another purpose for it. I have some of my smaller brushes right here. You could tell I could get quite a few in there. But this is the original purpose. I can also put in, like, say, I've got a pencil extender there. So, my pens, my markers, this works really good as an original purpose. I even have some, like, my regular colored pencils. Okay, yeah, my Derwents, they work great there, right? Works great. However, I really want to show you guys how this bag, or I should say this container, works great for polymer clay. Okay, so like I said, I have some long tools. And what I mean by that is right here I have my ball tools, okay? Those can get a little tall. And then I also have my ruler, because I need that ruler. And you can't get a 12-inch in there, but you can definitely get a 6-inch ruler in there, along with my scissors. I was surprised by this. Also, this is the big one, my knitting needles. These things are long. They take up some space. So it's like, how in the heck do you really store these well and keep them in one place? Well, guess what? It goes right in the slot here. I've got a few of them, but look at how many I'm getting in all at once. Oh, I love that. And it keeps it all contained in one little area. I've got my shorter knitting needles, and I use these things for, like, making my indents into polymer clay balls or whatever. Also, my X-Acto knife, that fits in here well. And if I bring in, like, my needle tool, it also fits in really wonderful. Plus, this is kind of short, so you could put it in the little bag section right next to it. But I figured, no, that works out pretty good. All right, so I'm left with my tweezers and my other little needle tool. And so right here, yes, guys, you can use your acrylic roller. Oh, and I have two different sizes on acrylic roller. This one was, like, I must say 3/4. It was the smaller roller, all right? I definitely suggest using the smaller roller in this bag, okay? You can use the larger roller. However, I noticed when I did use it, it took up so much space, I really couldn't fit much more in it. So that's why I'm using the smaller one. My ball tools, also wonderful. Goes right in there, great. Okay, I'm bringing in my blade. I'm going to put that in, and you notice I put my ruler in that little pocket too. I just wanted to kind of show you guys that, it's a little bit more this thing's versatile. You could put all sorts of stuff in. But the other thing that I really want to do, and I had to kind of take out a few tools here, but I wanted to show you guys you can also put in your needle nose pliers and your wire cutter. So that little baggie on the side becomes very, very vital. Okay, so I've built up this, little container really well, and I've got quite a few little tools in it. I added in a few more needles and stuff right here. And the nice thing about this container is that, yes, it's long enough for my longer knitting needles and stuff, but it's also very useful in the regard that it zips right up. Everything fits really good. You pull out that handle, you zip it right up, and the nice thing about zipping that up is it's all self-contained and it's organized. It's not going to be rattling around in your bag. So let's say you go and check this at the airport. It's small. This thing measures out at, I want to say, an inch. Yeah, an inch and a quarter or so here wide. So it's not that big. And you could sneak that into a check bag without any problem. And that's why I love it, because you're not having to deal with a bunch of unorganized tools. So when you open this back up again, you're going to be organized. You won't have to go looking for things. It's all in place. Now, the one thing though that started bugging me was my blades. Here's the short one right here. I decided, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put this in my bag. But the more I thought about it, the more I didn't like it. I really need to make something to keep myself from slicing myself. I mean, if you think about it, when you go to open up that zipper and you're taking that blade out, you're like, I just hurt myself. Yeah, we need to make some kind of container for those blades. Here we're going to really have some fun, people. So I'm bringing in some of my polymer clay. This is Kato. I like to use a harder clay in this case. I also want something that's going to be a little more durable. And I have an 8-inch blade and I need to create a case for this. So I rolled this out on my Atlas pasta machine on my 0 setting. So on my largest setting, make sure your clay is well conditioned before you do that. I don't normally say, run your clay through on your largest setting, and a lot of it is just because it's hard on the machine. So in this case, I just decided to do it because it was well conditioned. Anyway, I'm taking a texture sheet I had, just anything you have, and I'm just creating a little bit of texture down on my polymer clay. Notice too, I'm not terribly accurate when I went to go and cut my clay. No, I just want something so that the blade will fit on the inside of this particular piece. And of course, right here, I'm bringing in my blade to lift up my clay. So, because it's going to get tacked down because I had used that texture sheet. Anyways, I'm bringing this up. I'm going to go ahead and I wanted to make it a little bit more in line. So I cut this particular piece. And yes, this is for my long 8-inch blade. And I'm going to make another piece that's very similar to this. So it really is just one giant long rectangle. It really is. It's just a giant long rectangle. I'm not going to do anything more to this other than creating that little bit of texture to it, and also just making sure that my line is real nice and straight with, for my blade. Now, this all being said, you could go ahead and, I don't know, you could use some powders or acrylic paint or whatever you want to do to make it more decorative on the outside, but I figure I'm going to go ahead and do that after I bake this piece. So right here, again, I've already baked it. You could tell it's hardened up. I did another piece very similar to this, and I just wanted to make sure that it's both the same size. So you bake one, and then you go ahead and cut another one to the same size as the original, and this way then you have your outside cover for this thing. But the main thing when it comes to this case is that the blade itself will sit inside this particular piece of clay. So you don't want any edges showing or anything like that. You want to make sure that the blade is nice and comfortable where it's completely surrounded by this polymer clay. Okay, so now I'm bringing in a little bit of ribbon, and this ribbon is just some standard stuff I had. It's glittery type. I thought, oh, fun, right? And I'm just cutting some pieces here. I'm also going to be bringing in my E6000, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to glue down, and this piece of clay has been baked. I'm going to glue down my E6000, my little pieces of ribbon here, to the inside part of this long rectangular piece. Now that I have that ribbon kind of all put down, we're going to bring in some nice magnet. So I had some extra magnet. You can use, actually, every once in a while we get like, like newspapers have in the past brought me like a newspaper and they've got like a magnet advertisement on there or in the package or whatever. When you run across those, grab them up. Those work great for putting inside of these cases. You need either strip magnet or something like that. Right here I've cut some up and I'm going to place these down with a little bit of E6000 again on top of those ribbons, okay? So right here, I'm just taking a little bit of that E6000, I'm gonna flip it, and I'm gonna place that right on top of the middle two. These were extras. This got a little bit messy because really when I think about it, I would have rather had a piece of, magnetized strip all the way, that would go right over the top of every single one of those ribbons. I didn't have that this first time around, so it was kind of piecemealed. Okay, right here, I really, when I was putting the E6000 on, it worked great, but I had to bring in a little bit of super glue. Every once in a while, especially with that magnetized stuff, if it's curled up, you have to kind of train it and stretch it out so it's nice and straight. And once in a while, it still doesn't want to be put down real well. So I'll come in with a little bit of super glue as well, just to tack down the extra magnetized area. So like I said, this one was very much piecemealed. When I went to go and do the second piece, now here I'm cutting off the extra ribbons. You're going to go along, you're going to kind of make a nice little opening in the center of this thing between the two pieces. Not a ton, but just a little bit, okay? That way then it can fold over. And then you're going to bring in the E6000 yet again. You're going to go ahead and put that on the back side of where the ribbon is and on that other piece of polymer clay. And then we'll go ahead and create another set or strips of magnet to put on that other piece of clay. Now when I do this, sometimes it doesn't always work out that's great. So so you have to cut it down, okay, right? So you're going to be grabbing your scissors. Make sure it's a pair of scissors you don't care about when you go ahead and cut some of this. You want to keep your scissors in pretty good shape, but in this case, I just had some spare. I didn't care about them. Use those scissors to cut down the magnet piece before you put it onto the clay piece. Now we have this case all completed up. We're going to put our blade down and we're just going to fold it over, and there you go. So this is really nice because it keeps that blade from slicing you when you go and put it in your case. You won't have to worry about that part, and it's magnetized in there, so it isn't going to be going anywhere. We are finally coming back to our original Monaco case, and I made a smaller one for my smaller blade, and I put 2 in that one. It had a really nice magnet on there, so it's no problem. And then I'm going to put that back into the purple case, my long blade, and I'll just sneak it right into the pocket there on my Monaco case, and it works so nicely. I'm like, yep, this is how it should be done. I'm putting both of those in there, and they sit side by side, especially with the smaller acrylic roller. At this point, you would think, okay, it's mainly filled up and it can't fit much more, but if you put, like I've got the little ball tools here, they can sneak right underneath. There's a little bit of a gap between the zipper there, and it fits in just fine. I had my tweezer in there as well. And so, yeah, you can tuck little things into that case part. Okay, so I'm pretty excited about this part because I just recently discovered this, and I don't know why I didn't think about it earlier. So I have a lot of pencils. I've gotten into my colored pencil thing quite a bit lately, and I have purchased my Speedball pencil containers. These things, as you could tell right here, I have metal tools for polymer clay. Oh, it works so nicely. I was like, oh my word. It totally dumbfounded me because I thought, this works great. Not only can I use it for pencils, I can now use it for all of my metal tools. You know, the only thing you really have to worry about when it comes to the pencil cases is how tall the tool actually is. If it gets too tall, like I said, you know, I had the Monaco case, you know, it's 11 and what, 3/4, whatever, you know, it's 11 1/4, I think, tall. That's close to a foot. That's pretty tall tool, okay? You know, for knitting needle stuff, that makes sense. But if you have shorter tools like I do here, I had some 10-second tools, I had some other stamping tools that you can find online that you could use in polymer clay. They're nice to have around the house, but if you ever want to take them on a trip, what a pain, right? I mean, that's a bunch of metal, and it's like, gosh, it would be really nice to have a nice way to organize them. This is wonderful in that regard. All right, here I'm bringing in my Sculpey ball tools, and you'll notice that they're a little tall. Look at that big one. And he was just tall enough that it was interfering with the zipper area. I don't like that. You want something that's not going to interfere with that zipper. So these particular tools will not work in like a Speedball case. But I had some other ball tools like this right here. It was shorter, much shorter, and it was perfect. I was like, yeah. So check your tools. You know, I would get a Speedball case, and if you could get the Monaco one too, do so. Check to see which ones really work in what case. Here again, and this is what I love this part, my ruler. I was like, yes, my 6-inch ruler worked great. I was even able to fit my scissors in there, my big one and my small one. But these take up a lot of room, so you know, I'll save that for the Monaco case. But again, my ball tools, even the wood-handled ones, works great. But there was one tool I was like, wait a minute, I totally forgot about, and that was, yes, these little rubber shaper type tools for polymer clay. Holy cow. I was like, okay, that makes sense. This totally works. Now, I will have to say though, there were a few of those particular shaper tools that did not fit. I had some that were, okay, these were fine. They had the little ball tool on the end, but when I got to the black ones, that was good, but then, uh-oh, yeah, it went over the case. So that's where I would use my Monaco. So if you really need to have your shaper tools, definitely, this is a good option, as well as your Monaco case. The only thing about the Speedball cases is that they really come in just generally one color or two colors, and they're so close and you can't tell which one's which. So I put little doodads on the little zipper to kind of identify what's what. Here I brought in another pencil case because I had some other pencil cases. I thought, I want to experiment. I want to see what I can do with it. And I was, I was very pleasantly surprised that, yeah, you can fit some of your tools in there pretty well. However, that being said, some of these tools really stretch the limits of those rubber bands in there. And, in my mind, I'm like going, you know what? It might just be best to keep it in the Speedball case because the rubber banded area can be, how do I put that? It can be expanded out quite a bit. Plus, I also got tools that didn't quite fit well. I mean, this one right here was so loose. It was no way it was going to work. So you really need to go through your tools and check it out. But I've found, overall, the Speedball case was the best one because of the wide band, it could support like a bunch of little tools in one area and they would be snug tight. They wouldn't be too loose or they wouldn't fit like my ruler didn't right here. So, that's my recommendation. But I would say if you have pencil cases, go through them, see if they work for you. Now, I wanted to go ahead and bring this in because, there are times when I am going to use a paintbrush on my polymer clay. I mean, a good example was the little aliens project that I did where I, painted the scene. Or I should say the little creatures. So anyway, right here, I'm using straws to give each of my paintbrushes a nice cover, and they're great. I'm using a little bit of packing tape here, and what I'm going to do on this straw is I'm going to pinch the end, and then I'm going to fold that tape over the pinched end. Once I have that, I'm going to take the rest of it and I'm just going to fold it down. I'm going to cut off the excess, and then I'm going to add in a little bit more of my packing tape to go ahead and wrap the little bit of packing that's around it originally so that you don't have a bunch of extra tape, sitting out from that straw. But it's a nice way to keep your brush all nice and contained. This way dirt or nothing else gets in there. Let's say you've treated your brush, like you've put a nice coating, like either some Vaseline to help protect the bristles. This way you can really protect it because there's no dirt or dust or anything that's going to get in there. Now, mind you, you're going to have it in possibly either your Monaco container or even the Speedball container. The thing is, though, it's still kind of sitting out. So if you have something coming up on the other side when you close that particular container, it could be a problem. Right here, you can see on the Monaco bag, that thing isn't going to get hurt at all. Those straws are wonderful, and it's a nice recyclable way to use your straws. Okay, here now you see I've got a little straw. It's, I cut this one down already. And you'll also notice that the handle of the brush, it doesn't go all the way down. Go through and try and find which straws work for you in this regard. I love this option the best because, I can seal it up and the straw's not gonna, the other one was really loose. So when you put it into the Monaco bag or something like that, it's really nice if you have kind of a snug fit. And then that way, then it's not going to right up against the top of the straw. So keep that in mind. The other thing that I like about this option is it's snug on the handle. So when you go to put the little top on, we put the tape around it, it works great. Plus, when you take that little straw top off, you can put it on the bottom of your handle when you're using your brush. So you're not going to lose that part. You're going to have it. And then when you're done using your brush, you could put the little top right back on. All right, once in a while, I'm going to get like an angle brush or a wide blunt-ended brush. What I'll do is I'll press the straw at the end so that it will insert into the straw. And this way then, if I do that, and make sure you get the right straw, because sometimes they get a little wide and you're like, oh, okay, this is not going to work, or it will. But the ones where it will work, they'll be anchored in there really well, and you could cut the top just like I did the last one. But I really do like having that option because it won't, this is also why you don't want it to go down too far, because if you take it down too far on the stem of your brush, you might not be able to get the brush back out again. So keep that in mind also when you're doing this. All right, I had so much fun doing this that I decided to fill up another Monaco bag. And part of it was because I wanted to show you kind of the versatility of having a little bit of everything. So I have like my pens in here, my marker, I've got a couple of paintbrushes, and this right here, this is a toothbrush holder where I put in my brushes right there. Works really good, and you could sneak it into the pouch right on the other side. I also have my sharpeners for my pencils, and again, you can also bring in some of your clay tools. Like right here, I've got my Kemper cutters. I thought I need to take my Kempers with me, so those cutters come in so handy, and you could just sneak it right in the pouch, and then this way then you're set to go. I want to take this moment to really just mention to you guys, when it comes to the Monaco container, I had a really hard time trying to order this online. In fact, I really didn't. I found this container at my local Guyries store, and it was not too bad. It was like $12 or $13. And so the price was decent. I really liked it. The problem was trying to find it online to order was really difficult. Silverbrush.com did not have a way to order it from their website. They did offer some retailers up on their site to go to. The thing was, is I checked out almost all of them, with the exception of my Guyries. I could not find this container. Well, actually, I take that back. The thing was, I did find the container, but they put in a couple of brushes with it. So the price would jump up to like, one was $85 and the other one, it was ridiculous. And I thought, I just want the container. How is this possible? I want the container, people, not everything else. So my suggestion is go ahead and go to your local Guyries if you've got a local store near you. See what they have there. Hopefully they'll have this container. If not, you can always contact them. I do know online, so check and see how you can get one of these bags. Okay, here's one case that I've got all zipped up and ready to go. And then I've got a second case that I'm going to bring in here that I did the same thing. I have it all set. It's ready. I've got all my little tools in here. So if you're going to have a place you're taking off for during the summer or wherever, you've got a trip that's coming up, this is a nice way to take your tools with you and enjoy them on the road. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. And if you did, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'm always wondering what you're thinking. Otherwise, I am sending out my biggest of hugs to each of you, and I hope you have a fantastic day.